All right, we're at a minute. Can we sneak an ending in real quick, or should we restart?
Do it.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us. Thank you guys for joining me on this episode of the Circus Catch from Oklahoma and Montana out to California. We will see you guys next week. Peace out. By the way, if you guys can, please send good vibes, thoughts, prayers, all that kind of stuff. NBA draft lotteries tonight, so go Spurs, go. Let me hear you say it. Let me hear you say it. Go Spurs, go. Go Spurs, go. Take for Wemby. Hashtag take for Wemby.
Thanks again, Malika. The fourth pick in the NBA draft goes to the Houston Rockets. The third pick belongs to the Portland Trailblazers.
All right.
The second pick will be made by the Charlotte Hornets.
Woo!
And that means that the number one pick in the
Let's
2020
go!
draft
Woo!
goes to the San Antonio
Yeah!
Spurs.
Woo! Yeah!
Some may call that an overreaction. Personally, I don't think I reacted strong enough. Victor Wembanyama unofficially headed to San Antonio. The pick will be made official June 22nd at the NBA draft. A shakeup to the NBA world means I had to shake up this week's Circus Catch roster. Austin Parr back with us this week. And check this out, the long-awaited return of Richard Tucker. Gentlemen, welcome to episode 22.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, man. Super excited to be back.
Great to see you guys.
Tough night last night, but we're excited.
Oh man.
Well, both of you guys sporting your jerseys of your teams that went really far. My team didn't go very far, but I still have a huge reason for optimism. I know all of us are just at very different extremes right now on the emotional roller coaster that is our NBA fandom. Austin, obviously you're a big Lakers fan. Richard, big Heat fan. Myself here is the Spurs fan. Let's dive into my Spurs first, since their news isn't remotely playoff related. Victor Wembanyama, the French phenom, has been playing professional basketball in France since the age of 15, a league in which he just won MVP. He is already being described as more than just a unicorn. LeBron James said he is an alien because his skill set couldn't possibly be from this planet. Guys, Wembanyama is listed at 7'4". He's what you would call a five-tool player. Typically, that's a term that you just reserve for baseball guys because of how rare it is in basketball. But in basketball, according to ESPN, it refers to five things. It refers to size, athletic ability, handles, shooting range, and defense. The expectations are already sky high for the 19-year-old. He's being touted as the greatest prospect since LeBron James in 2003. So what does this mean? Well, in reality, it means nothing until he gets on the court. But on paper, it means unlimited potential and a ceiling that exceeds that of any player to ever play the game of basketball. He's the prototype of what you would want from a generational player in this era of basketball. Best way I can describe it is he's a taller Kevin Durant, who he fashions a large chunk of his game after. He's got Rudy Gobert style on the inside with far better ability to close, and dare I say, his mid-range is Dirk-like, but he shoots a little bit sharper. Guys, what do we think about the alien going to the Spurs?
I think it's the safe pick. Like I was, just going through it, and Tony Parker's, super excited about him, going to the Spurs. Got Greg Popovich, definitely a safe pick for both sides. For him, going somewhere familiar, is going to be great for him. And the Spurs, getting a guy that, like you just said, is a unicorn alien, I think it's the right way to go. However, like you said, hasn't played an NBA game, so I'm not completely sold on him yet.
He's definitely a freak. We've seen a lot of highlights of what he can do as far as his range and his ability. It's insane how he handles the ball so well at 7'4". Very athletic, obviously. He is only 19 years old, so it might be one of those things where we're going to have to wait a couple of years to let him grow into his body, NBA-style body. We all remember when Giannis came into the league. He was a shrimp. He was tiny, super skinny. Wembanyama, I feel like, is going to go through the same thing, but who's to say he's not going to be a star right off the bat? The Spurs do this all the time. They love their European players, French players. They're really good at this. They develop them really well. It's exciting times for San Antonio. I'm excited for that organization and just to see how well he, stacks up against some of this NBA style talent. But can he stay healthy? I mean, with a body like that and size like that, will he not be prone to knee injuries or ankle injuries, coming down on that ankle from up there,
And I think that is the biggest concern that I've heard pretty much all around is the fact that he's got such a tall, lanky frame. The good thing is, though, like I said, it's the prototype for this era of the NBA. Obviously, wouldn't have worked in a more physical area like the 90s or the early 2000s when you wanted a different kind of prototype. But now that the rules of the game have favored the offense a little bit more, I think it's a little bit safer to be this kind of body type. And this is pretty much exactly what you want. Kevin Durant-esque, like I said. So I feel like he's going to be just fine at this level. It may take him a while to develop. I don't expect him to be league MVP year one, Obviously, he's got a lot of really, really great potential, and that's why all Spurs fans, including myself, are just insanely excited about this. The last two number one picks that the Spurs had, do you guys know who those are?
Was it Tim Duncan and David Robinson?
Exactly. Tim Duncan in 97, David Robinson in 87. And I think it worked out pretty well for those guys. So some big shoes to fill, but I think the Spurs are going to go about this the right way. According to Mark Stein, they do plan on bringing in Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker to mentor this guy throughout the season, which what other organization does that? Brings back their superstars to do stuff like this. Obviously, we remember Duncan, who came back a couple of years ago as an assistant coach under Greg Popovich, top 10 NBA player of all time, according to most people. Just back in little old San Antonio, and it's really cool to see this honestly what equates to a family environment. They want to raise him up the right way and make sure that he's good to go and that he leads the next generation of Spurs greats. So over the weekend, we also had the PGA Championship. Austin Parr, Brooks Koepka, the winner of this PGA Championship. Your thoughts on that?
There's a lot to say on this. Second tournament in a row that LIV players were kind of dominating the scoreboard, which is very interesting. It's going to put a lot more pressure on the PGA to include them in the World Golf Rankings, which is the major controversy right now because they can't play all these other tournaments because they're not in the golf rankings. But they can play majors because they've qualified and it's a separate deal. But Brooks Koepka, man, what else can you say? The guy had a subpar first round on Thursday, comes back, shoots 66 on Friday, 67 on Saturday, and then goes out on a dominant performance on Sunday. Yes, Victor Hovland kind of choked it a little bit on the 16th hole with a double bogey, and that pretty much sealed the deal for Brooks. Scottie Scheffler had an amazing weekend as well, just put himself too far in contention on Sunday to make that late run. But it was awesome. I like Brooks Koepka a lot. I'm not a super fan as far as like me being a fan of Scottie or being a fan of Dustin Johnson or Tiger Woods. I think his personality and his attitude has really been adjusted lately, because when he was those first 2 years when he won 4 majors, he was like the cockiest SOB on the planet, winning all these golf tournaments, thinking that he's the best. And granted, he was winning majors, but I didn't like the fact that he doesn't prepare as hard for regular tournaments. He only shows up when the majors come, but good for him. And then we saw in full swing, that his ego was dropped down big time. I don't know if you guys have watched the Netflix Full Swing episodes, but his episode particularly, I was impressed. He was very vulnerable. He said one of the major reasons why he went to LIV was because he didn't think he could compete anymore with these top players on the PGA Tour. Main reason, due to injury. He was getting injured. He thought he could never find his swing. I think a quote he said this week was, when you don't have it, you don't have that it factor with your golf swing, you always dream and wonder, if you're ever going to get it back. And then you do have it, and you never think, oh, this is going to go away. And so I feel like he kind of got humbled after he won those first 4 majors. But this is big for the game of golf. I was happy with Brooks Koepka winning it in dominant fashion. It kind of got overshadowed, though. There was a big story inside of the ropes between this PGA Tour professional, Mission Viejo, California. My brother actually plays at his club all the time. This guy named Michael Block. Have yourself a block party, if you will. Goes out, shoots 70 in the first round. We're like, okay, is he going to make the cut? Goes out, shoots 70 in the second round. He's even par. He's never made a cut in a major at all. He's played in, I believe, 5 or 6 of them. Just an amazing story. He makes the cut. He makes 70 on Saturday. So he's even par. He's only like 8-9 shots off the lead, technically in contention. He kind of becomes the story, and he's just your guy's guy. He's a guy that you want to, just go have a beer with. His biggest thing was telling the fans that he's like, I'm just like one of you guys. I don't ever go to the range. I just play golf. And it's crazy that he doesn't ever go to the range. And he's honestly one of the best golfers probably in the state of California, to be honest. And then we're watching Brooks make this dominant run, and he dunks a hole-in-one on 15 to just continue this fairy tale story. And it was just awesome to see all of his fans and family and like friends and everybody was at his club. And when he made that shot, his son took a video of the club, and there's like hundreds of people and they're going nuts. His post game in, he was just so happy to be out there, right? He said he was living the dream. He's like, my life is never going to get better than this. Overall, great weekend for golf, and looking forward to the US Open next month.
I love that you always have plenty to say and that you're always so well versed in what you do have to say. But damn you for taking all the points I was going to bring up and you just kind of said it all at once. I was going to talk to you about, let's talk, since Koepka is live golf, talk about live versus PGA. Oh, let's talk about Michael Block. Let's talk about what he did with his hole-in-one. Let's talk about what he's going to do later, how he got the invite to the tournament. Like, man, come on, give me something to work with here.
Well, I just felt like I was talking about the tournament as a whole. So
No, you're totally fine. I'm kidding. Oh, one thing you did not bring up that I have on here. Michael Block charges $150 per lesson. And he joked and said that now that he made that hole-in-one and now that he's, basically an international celebrity now, that his wife is pressuring him to charge higher prices. Obviously, he's kidding, but he probably should charge higher prices. Let's be honest.
Well, the cool part about his story, too, is that when he first started he tried to go to the professional route. It didn't work out. He very much understood that he didn't want to grind and basically make that push and that effort. Maybe he didn't think that he was going to make it. So he started to become a professional coach. And when he did, he was on the range, he said, for 9 to 10 hours every single day, teaching people, trying to just make it for his 2 sons. And now it's gotten to a point where he only does like 2 to 3 lessons a week. Like you said, he does charge $150. What I really like about the new broadcast that they're doing for the majors is they're doing like walk with Jim Nance or walk with SVP. And so Michael Block walked with them with a headset, and they did a live interview while he was playing his round. And they laughed and joked. And Trevor Immelman was like, hey, can I lock in that $150 price right now? Because I'm pretty sure that's going to have to go up in the next couple months.
So I fully expected us to be kind of in the middle of the conference finals right now as we're about to do this episode, but we're pretty much at the end. I didn't expect it to come this quick. I don't think any of us did. We got to start in the Western Conference, Austin. I apologize, but that's where we need to go. Lakers obviously did not win a game in this series. There were 3 close games. One was not. I don't think that losing 4-0 was the outcome that they deserved, especially based on how they played. But I do think that Denver was pretty much the dominant team throughout the series.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I said the Lakers are going to win the series last week on the podcast. Clearly, I was wrong. I did give Denver a lot of credit. I did say they do look like the best team in the playoffs. So I was right about that because they still look like the most dominant team. And they know how to finish, right? I think we saw that the Lakers had an opportunity to come back in game 1 after being down 21 points. They brought it back to a 3-point game with 40 seconds to go. LeBron took a 3-pointer at the top of the key that a lot of people didn't like. I didn't personally like it just for the fact of his 3-point shot wasn't going down. A lot of his attempts were short. Maybe that had to do with something about the altitude, but you're down 3 with 40 seconds to go. You don't need a 3. You can LeBron James still to this day can take anybody off the dribble to the rack and score. Anybody. Doesn't matter how big you are, how small you are. Sometimes I don't understand in the clutch moments. Maybe he's tired, like I said, maybe it's the altitude, but he could have taken that ball off the dribble, drove to the basket, drove to the hoop, tried to score, get fouled maybe, or even somebody's going to probably double him, kick it out to one of your shooters, and then we can live with that. I didn't really like the LeBron James 3-pointer in that game. Game 2 seemed like they were going to steal in Denver. They were dominating the whole time, but Denver never gave up. They never backed down. That's something that Jokic said in his post-game interview last night. He said something about this team is we never give up. We will always fight. And that's what they did in every single game. They weathered the storm in game 2, ended up winning a close game there. Game 3, they came out, punched the Lakers in the mouth in the first half, 72 points in the first half. Just inexcusable from the best defensive team in the NBA, especially going home 0-2. And that's how you come out in the first half. Now, I understand the Lakers, they came back, had a chance to win game 3. Again, Denver closes it out once again. Last night, same thing. Lakers dominating the entire game. LeBron James dominates the first half, 30 points in the first half, pulls a Jamal Murray type game. And then third quarter kind of disappears a little bit. Fourth quarter until the last 5 minutes in the quarter only had 1 point. Didn't really understand why the Lakers were running offensive possessions, not through him and not through Anthony Davis. I know LeBron did say questions about his basketball future. I think that's all a bunch of garbage. I think coming from a guy who says that his number one goal is he wants to play with his son. I think that's just him in the moment being down a little bit, but we'll see LeBron back next year, and excited for the next couple of years for the Lakers.
Yeah, no, I'll actually agree. I was one of those guys that picked the Lakers to win this series. After watching game 1 and seeing them, fight back, and then I was like, game 2, here we go. And, they came out and played great. And I was like, there's no way that they don't take this series in 5. Like, I thought Lakers were going to steal game 2, win those games at home, and they were going to end the series. But, man, I was wrong. I will say this, Denver does look like the team to beat. It's just one of those things like Jokic and Murray just are coming out on fire. Michael Porter Jr., the guy is 6'10"? When he's out there playing, he doesn't look like he's 6'10". And, he's just balling. Some of his shot taking, is a little suspect, but I will say this, they got size, they got shooters. They are a scary team. And, hopefully whoever comes out of the East will be ready for him.
Whoever comes out of the East, come on.
Come on. What kind of statement is that?
Oh, man.
The loudest mouth on social media and the quietest mouth on the circus catch. All right. Obviously, a 7-seeded Lakers playing a 1-seeded Nuggets is a little lopsided, and I think if the Lakers win at least one of these games, they don't deserve any kind of criticism. Getting swept, I think you do need a little bit of criticism. I think that they came in prepared against both the Grizzlies and the Warriors. Luckily, they got to play two teams that were, I guess, what you could say small. Denver is not small pretty much anywhere, and even where they are small, they ball. So Jamal Murray, the one of the only small guys in the starting lineup, just went off on them in this series. Obviously, last night's game, it was, of course, it was a Jokic game. Every game is, but it was also the Aaron Gordon game, hitting all those threes kind of out of nowhere. That's not his game, but he came to play. And I think the Lakers made some good adjustments as far as like getting the starting lineup to be different than how it has been for most of the series. But Denver made even better adjustments in the second half, so kudos to them. Let's shift things over, and I can tell, Richard, you're already ready for this one. Shift things over to the Heat-Celtics series. By the time this episode comes out, Game 4 will have already been played. At the moment, the Heat have a 3-0 lead at the time of this recording. Richard, how have you seen the Eastern Conference Finals so far?
Well, I'm going to start off with pulling out my son's broom.
Hey,
We're going for the sweep tonight. All right. Hey, so I'm just going to say this right now. Miami has exceeded my expectations. I was disappointed in the season. However, we, had some injuries throughout the year. And it's one of those things that this is what was supposed to happen last year. Duncan Robinson, I'll say this right now, Jimmy Butler, Jimmy Buckets, whatever you want to say, he's played great, but without the shooting that we've had from Duncan Robinson, Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, all these guys, we'd be in the same spot as last year because Jimmy Butler tried to carry us last year and it didn't work. Game 7, missed the 3-pointer to win the game, and like you said, we'll be back here again and we'll take care of business. And like I said, I definitely see the sweep happening tonight. I see Jimmy just pouring it on them, especially Mr. Grant Williams, who likes to talk a little too much.
That Grant Williams, Jimmy Butler little battle right there. And we've talked about it with Dylan Brooks against LeBron James too. You don't poke bears, you just don't do it.
Well, and that's the thing, Jimmy, don't give Jimmy more fuel. The guy is already, playoff Jimmy, and then you're going to go and start mouthing off to him. Oh man, he's going to, that next focus, the next level is coming. And that's what he did. It just, I love it because as a fan, you just love to see players, battle. And especially when it's your guy taking care of business.
Austin, let me ask you this. Just going to the Celtics side of things, how much of the blame should actually go to first-year head coach Joe Mazzulla?
Oh, dude, there's a lot. There's a lot of blame there, and it's happened throughout. They've gotten lucky to be in the position that they're at, even making the Eastern Conference Finals with some of the mistakes or decisions or lack thereof that he's been doing throughout the entire playoffs. For some reason, he thinks that if you hold on to timeouts, you get to use them for the next game. But somebody's got to tell him like that. It doesn't work like that because it's something that he's been doing for the entire regular season. And I get it. You're trying something new. You're trying something different. You're letting these players play through these struggling runs and things like that. But when it's not working in the playoffs, you got to switch something up. The NBA is a game of adjustments. And it doesn't really look like that Joe Mazzulla has made a lot of adjustments. Maybe instead of watching The Town 8 times per week or 8 hours or however many times he watches The Town, mind you, awesome movie, phenomenal movie. Love that movie. But maybe instead of watching that dang movie so many times, you should be doing some coaching adjustments because you barely snuck out of the second round series against a Philly team who really didn't even belong on the same court as you.
I do want to say this as well. Marcus Smart hasn't been a scorer whatsoever in this series. And last year, he was putting it on us. That was one of the reasons, the Heat struggled. At the point guard position, we had Kyle Lowry, Gabe Vincent, those guys, and Marcus Smart was putting it on us. And now he's kind of backed away a little bit and been more of a facilitator when, like you guys have said, it's like Jason Tatum, he's supposed to have that instinct and it hasn't showed up at all. And it's again, I don't know, like you guys said, coaching, I definitely believe Mazzulla, definitely deserves some blame here. But again, it's one of those things when you're Jason Tatum and you're that guy, you're supposed to, he tried to defend him in an interview, but it's like, bro, go defend him on the court. Like show, if you don't show up on the court, people are going to eat your coach alive. And it's one of those things it's sad. And I think that's one of the factors that played into Doc Rivers being fired because you got Game 7. You're going against a coach who has no experience in a Game 7 and you lose. And now we're seeing it, the inexperience for the Celtics at coaching. Spoelstra's running circles around this guy. He is running circles, and we've seen it where he's thrown zone defense at them. He's, double team Tatum. And it's one of those things Tatum in the final minutes of the fourth quarter, Tatum looks like a rookie. He's turning the ball over. He's not looking to score at all. And it really becomes Jaylen Brown's team. Like what in the final minutes is like, Jaylen Brown, what are you gonna do? Or what are we gonna do as a team? And it's like, I love Jason Tatum as a basketball player, but I hope someday he does get that instinct. But typically this far into the career, like Kobe had that. Kobe had it. Jordan had it. Jimmy Butler, like he's had it. I mean, Minnesota, he was casted out because he went at his teammates because he wanted to win, and we've seen that story, and it's one of those things like guys have it and some guys don't. And I think that, like you guys have said, splitting this team up might be the best thing with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, because it's not going to get it done.
So the Panthers continue to dominate. Who saw that coming? It's got to be something in the water down in southern Florida, man. You got the Heat dominating their series. You got the Panthers, who have beaten the best team in NHL history in the Boston Bruins, dominating the Toronto Maple Leafs in a series where people thought it would be the other way around. And now you have one of the best teams in the league, the Hurricanes, down 3-0 to the Panthers. This series has been all over the place. The first game went into quadruple overtime. It was the 6th longest game in NHL history. I personally made the mistake of staying up for the entire game. Luckily, I'm on the West Coast, so I was able to catch most of it before bedtime. But my God, I was so tired afterwards. I felt like I was playing in this game. Game 2 also went into overtime. Luckily, the Panthers scored just a couple minutes in, so I didn't have to wait up that late in that game. I thought this third game was going to go into overtime as well. It was a solid win for the Panthers, 1-0. But these games have all been relatively close. This series, I should say, could very easily be 3-0 in the favor of the Hurricanes, but it's not. And the Panthers do have a chance on Wednesday night to close this one out.
Yeah, I agree. Wednesday night, I think, they are going to go for the sweep. And I mean, again, hockey is one of those tougher sports, and 4 overtimes. I don't know how you do it. I mean, applaud to them, for being able to withstand that. And I mean, again, like you just said, 4 overtime and game 1, game 2, overtime, and then game 3. I mean, this series can be totally flipped. I definitely see the sweep happening. But it's one of those things that's, it's why you love sports.
It's kind of like those NFL teams that, just skate into the playoffs, pun intended, with a hot record, and go on a major run and sometimes make the Super Bowl and win the whole thing. And we're seeing the same thing with the Florida Panthers. They got that confidence. They beat the best team, arguably, in the entire NHL history. Obviously, the best team in the league this year in the Boston Bruins. And that confidence, we saw it against Toronto. Yes, is Toronto known for kind of choking a little bit, not winning the Stanley Cup, things like that? Yeah, of course, absolutely. But Florida still got to go out there and win 4 games, and they did that handily. They're doing the same thing, not handily, but, with the Carolina Hurricanes, and it's so impressive. And I think that first game kind of makes the series go one way or the other, right? If the Canes come out on top of that 4 overtime game, we could be talking about a whole different series here, but we're not. Florida's getting the job done. They can win high-scoring games. They can win low-scoring games, as they just won 1-0. Super excited for them and their organization. As you said, there definitely is something in that drinking water down there, because Miami is thriving right now. And good for the Panthers. I did say the Panthers were going to win, so kudos to myself.
Way to pat yourself on the back. But yeah, you did. You can go back and watch the tape. But yeah, speaking of overtime games, let's shift things over to the Western Conference now. The Dallas Stars and the Vegas Golden Knights. Game 3. The results will be known after this video is posted. Obviously, right now, all that we know is that the Golden Knights are up 2-0 as the series transitions to Dallas. But both of those games also went into overtime. Not quite as long as this other series, but man, this has been a great round for the NHL as far as the closeness of each of these teams to each other. It feels like anybody can do anything at any time. What do you think the odds would be, guys, of not only the NBA but also the NHL having sweeps in each one of the conference final series?
4 sweeps?
4 sweeps.
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't expect much from a Dallas team. So I mean, it's one of those things, especially in the playoffs. So, definitely, I think the odds go up when you got a Dallas team in there.
Vegas is getting it done, though. I mean,
Yeah.
they did their job. They took care of home ice. They're finishing, even though these games are going to overtime. They're still finishing the games. They're winning the games. They're up 2-0, sitting pretty. If they win tonight, the series is over. Obviously. You got to expect Dallas to come out with a little more energy, turning the puck over less, just doing a little bit, just tightening up the screws just a little bit, because they're not far off from winning these games, right? From winning these matchups with Vegas. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of film breakdown too of what they can do better. But these games have been phenomenal. Like you said, a great round of a great round of hockey for the NHL after a complete dud last round. Very, very tough last round, but I think it's gotten us more excited to watch hockey in the conference finals. And it's looking like we're looking at Florida and Vegas for the Stanley Cup final. But obviously that depends on tonight's game. Just super excited for all these playoffs to end. And then, then we got baseball season.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that we haven't talked about baseball on this show for the last few episodes just shows how much there is going on in the sports world right now. We'll get to it soon. I promise we'll get to it soon. But stuff needs to stop happening in other sports for us to get there.
Yeah, exactly. I was actually just going to touch on this, Jordan.
Go for it.
I don't know, man, about those A's. I don't know what's going on with them.
They're tanking. They're clearly tanking because they wanted to move to Vegas and they got their wish. So once they get to Vegas, they'll start acquiring talent, but that'll be a few years down the road. So I'm not really interested in talking baseball anyways right now. I'd rather see you guys fight. We got a Giants fan and a Dodgers fan, so duke it out.
Oh man, yeah.
We're at the end of the episode. It's fine. See, I thought about that actually going into the episode, and I wanted to wait till the very last second to let you guys know. So.
Yeah, I did not know this was gonna get thrown in there. Dodgers fan. I mean, I should have known. LA.
SoCal, baby.
Thank you guys so much for coming on. We got 2 California boys and a former California boy, so we got the Cali team up here. This was a good episode. Thank you guys so much for coming on this week.
Represent.
Thank you, man.
All right, guys, out from Montana, Northern California, down here to Central California. We will see you guys next week. Thank you so much once again. Peace out. Tanked for Wendy. You like how I added that little part at the end? Tanked. We did it. We made it happen. Manifested. Oh, manifest that sweep. There you go.